Well, I would like to begin the video thanking all the people, all the hard workers that make our society functional. The small things and the hard things that nobody pays attention, that we all take for granted. That because of the lockdowns we have come to realize that the small businesses make a difference, and if you shut them down, things will begin to miss, things will begin to go missing, there will be loss, as we are now starting, it's just the beginning, to feel the 2 last years that governments decided to do one of the worst possible things they could have ever done. And instead of course, realizing their mistake and making it up to it, no, they are trying to censor speech online, as they've been trying for the last 2 years, 3 years now. Oh God, time flies. So, thank you for all the small people, all the hard workers, all the people who give their best, who wake up early in the mornings and work until they are overwhelmed or tired. The physical work, the fire workers, the miners, the people who connect the cables and wires that send electricity into our cities, the people who work at oil rigs, the maidens, the waiters, the waitresses who give us a smile despite having worked the whole day. To all those people, thank you so much, because you do make the whole difference. I know people don't really appreciate the people who work in small corner shops, the people who work in kiosks, even the people who work in places like Walmart. We don't have this here. The people who set this lake, who made this place possible, the gardeners, the people who work in graveyards, the people who work at night in hospitals, the nurses that have completely irregular times to help people, to work by helping people, to the doctors as well. So many thanks, so many lives saved, and it's not really your fault if someone lost, because you did all you could with what you know, and nobody should be blamed for that. I was thinking, and as you know, here goes Jan talking about his philosophy again. But there is no, or there should be no doubt, and be my guest, to think about it, to reflect, to contradict me, to cross-examine me, if you wish, that ideologies and religions, there are many similarities between religion and ideology. One could almost say they are the same, because they are both based on beliefs. Maybe it should be time. I'm not going to criticize any of them, because for the very simple reason that we shouldn't have them by now. Our society has developed, our technology Our progress hasn't been thanks to ideology or thanks to religion. Our progress is based in the hard work of people who make the small things happen, and technology as development, because people are working the best way they can to figure things out. The advancements of technology. We should make patents more affordable, and you would be amazed to see how far humanity goes, even beyond what we see right now. However, technology seems to have solved many of the issues, many, if not all, that religions and ideologies could not, and in fact caused millions of deaths. And I'm not going to discuss, because it's all in the past, and those are facts. There were millions, were there hundreds of millions, were there tenths of millions. I think one death based on a false idea or in an error based in something that people just believe, not something that could help them or really improve, but by the means of making things up. One death is enough. It's already way overboard. Imagine tens of millions, hundreds of millions, as some dictator, some psychopath said in the past, or sociopath, one never knows. One death is a tragedy. A million deaths are statistics. There is some truth to that, especially if you cover it up. But shouldn't we be past all this? Shouldn't have we learned from all of this not to try again? Now I see this war in Russia so close to me, so close to me. I never thought I would end up here. I never thought. And this is my life. Who dares ends up in places they have no idea they're going to end up in. I think we should drop, I have reasons to conclude that we should drop religions, not spirituality. You can believe in anything you want. The problem is when you start demanding people do the same. And this is where deaths occur, because maybe, just maybe, just consider it for a minute. Most people don't want to live the way you want. Have you ever considered that? Alone by the means of force is that you get your wish, and the means of killing dissent. And is this really the best way or only way? No. Others have shown that there are other ways, better ways, that we don't need ideologies, that we don't need religion. We can have spirituality. If you like the Bible, read the Bible for inspiration. If you like some ideology, read that ideology for inspiration. But one should not demand from others what they are not willing to give. This has been said so many times before. However, I think it's important that it is said again, because if people can preach ideals, wishful thinking, dreams that become nightmares because they don't know until they have tried, and we have tried most, if not all, ideologies. We have tried them all, as well as religions, and they seem to hold people back. Well, technology and hard work, that's advancement. People trying their best to figure out a solution to their issues and are contributing more than any crazy idea, any wishful thinking could ever do. Because look at this, technology made this possible. Technology, that's the key. So with this I say technology has advanced to a point that we don't need the wishful thinking anymore. We can be practical now. We can be practical. And it was a long run since the first philosophers start popping by in their search for truth instead of fear. To this day, what, 2,500 years, 2,600 years or something, let's say 3,000, since the first writings start showing up, right? Since the first people had stability enough due to the development of society by means of discovery of new technologies. The more we discovered, the more time we had for ourselves to think, to figure things out, to figure other things out other than just sheer survival. To the point that today we are starting, or the most observative people are starting to notice that soon many jobs won't be there anymore, as robotics is taking over the menial jobs. The jobs nobody ever wanted to do in the first place are being taken over. And I believe, or I have rather believe is a tricky word, I have reasons to conclude that it is a good thing, because it's not like the less people working, the less money we are making. It's pretty much the other way around. Less people working, the more money is being made, because machines can do work not just without being concerned or aggravated or thinking or dreaming, with no pay and some maintenance, and that beats everything. The question is what to do with all the people who will not have a job. And there are many answers, actually. It's because nobody's really taking the time to consider it, to think about it. Number one, people will pursue their dreams, their real dreams, their aspirations, their real aspirations, if they are allowed to. However, in order to do that, we need to do one thing, and one thing only. We need to allow free speech. And then there's another thing. We need to make patents available right now. As I even met people pay for patents, because you need to go to someone who has money so you can file for a patent proper, because you need money. Sure, they have cheapened it up in Europe. However, it's still not free. It's still not affordable to many people who have great ideas, because creative people are discriminated in our society. They are. You can deny it, you can pretend this is not the case, but you might be thinking in an ideological sense of whom you consider to be creative. I work in the creative field. I have a lot to say about that, but I don't want to bother you with this right now, because I want to stay on topic. I'm just pointing out that I may have some knowledge about the matter. bureaucracy, can't say that word in English, is taking over because technology is giving people the false notion that what we need are more bureaucrats. No, we need to get rid of the bureaucrats. They are the fact. They are what needs to get to go. They are the ones making life hard for everyone, because their religion is the religion of the state, and not just a religion. That's where they get their paycheck. So of course they will struggle to expand it, not to minimalize it. So this must be a struggle that comes from the people. And in order for this to do, all you need to do is to focus in becoming the change that you personally, you, the individual, you, the woman, the man, whatever you want to call yourself, it's your personal struggle to become the change that you wish for the world. That has been, and seems to will be, the best way to achieve what you wish for others, instead of demanding it from others. Show others how you live, show others how you behave, show others what do you think is best. And if your ideas are really good, and this is why university used to have cross-examination, to make sure that your ideas were at least feasible. So if your ideas are pretty good, or somehow good, others will follow. They will try it. They will copy you, because monkey sees, monkey does. So you need to be aware that technology now has allowed us to go in pursuit of what we really would like to do. Get out of the cities. The cities are overcrowded. They are not even healthy for most people. Get out of the cities, move to the countryside, meet someone there, start a life there, start a family. Small cities usually always need some extra hands. It should be a return to where we came from. During the Industrial Revolution, we needed to go to the cities. The pay was better. However, the Industrial Revolution already happened. We are beyond this. We are in the age of information. Look at this. Technology has achieved all this just for our enjoyment. It's just for our enjoyment. Can we imagine how many people worked to build up all this, to plant those plants or take care of the plants that were already here, plant some extra in key points so it would look good? Can you imagine all the small people who make such a difference? The city planners, the planners, the engineers. It's so amazing. And I can spend hours of the day talking about it. Thanks for our development. Because regardless of technology taking over, we've never been so wealthy. Never in the history of humankind. You can research that if you think I'm wrong. But what if I'm right? So you need to consider this gift, this present time that you're living in. Sure, we still need to work, and there are bills to be paid, and you should not avoid paying your bills. That just makes your life harder. But you have way more time to seize the day, to take opportunities of every moment. The time is now. Now this is a call to adventure. This is a call for action. An action in whatever direction you wish to go. The things that you wish that should be done to improve the world, do it. In your spare time, of course. Again, we all still need to work, but you should do it. You shouldn't stop living. Now we have the time. We literally have the time to live, not just to work. Our major issues, at least in countries like the one I'm currently living in, have been solved. And there are people who still cling to a past that nobody wants because it was a bad past. Maybe necessary, so we could figure out that certain ideas do not work. Certain wishful thinking is counterproductive. It gets people killed, right? For the same reason you, as a child, you figure out not to stick a fork in the electricity system. I forgot the name of that specific word in English. So you should figure out that ideologies are gone. They start more problems than they solve. When by default you create like some of those 19th century ideologies, they claim to equalize everyone. But this couldn't be further from the truth, because as soon as you establish us against them, you're already establishing a hierarchy, so it's inevitable. So one should stop doing that, as I would recommend a child to stop the attempt to stick a fork in the contact. Is that how you say that in English? Use your time to pursue your personal passions and help people if you can, without demanding anything in return. That's another big problem in today's world. People demand admiration. They demand that they be praised for not doing anything really. So you shouldn't demand anything. You should focus on doing what you believe to be correct, what you believe to be right, as long as it doesn't involve anybody else directly but yourself. And again, if other people believe it's a good idea, they will join you. They will even follow you. But and that's just for doing what you want to do, what you really want to do in your spare time. So technology is advancing. It's still advancing. I don't think it will ever stop, because the powerful people figured out that it actually makes them more profit, and they don't have to deal with a lot of issues that previously people had to deal with. Nowadays they don't even need to see people. How cool is that? But there is, of course, some problems that still remain. One of them is what to do with the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy definitely would not want to go away gracefully. They will maybe even start issues, as politicians have done for at least for the last 50 years. Did you ever notice that? The war on drugs, the war on poverty. Did the war on poverty stop poverty? No. The US, when they started the war on poverty, Everyone technically had a house in the United States, for instance. Nowadays, that the war and poverty is ongoing, most people are living in the streets, they are living in tents. So obviously that war is failing, like the war in drugs. Don't you even get me started on that one. I don't do drugs, at least illegal drugs, because with my philosophy, I do things that other people only do for their fear of the law. However, it's not working, is it? So politicians have been doing that, so they can have more money to the big projects, and you get, if anything, you get crumbs. But again, what shows further that it has once more nothing to do with ideology. The thing is greed. The thing is, some people are no good, and if given the opportunity, they will take advantage of any situation. And we forgot to keep politicians in check. That's our error, that's our mistake. I have children to raise. I cannot dare beyond a certain step. They're too young. However, you out there, in a peaceful, legal manner, being the change that you wish for the world, you can change the world. I could a little bit. I'm partially responsible for for all that is going on around the world nowadays. I was one of the first who brought freedom of speech to the point that politicians now are afraid of it. And it was my pleasure in doing so, because it needed to be done. And I never did anything illegal, as far as I know. So I know it can be done, and this is why I'm compelling others to do even better than I could ever done. Because I also had dreams. I also had my personal curiosities in other fields, in other areas. I also had my share of fun and doing stupid things. Some things I regret, haven't we all? So, no scent. Either no scent or I stayed so much. Pushkin. Interesting. Either no scent or I stayed so much in the apartment that my nose just stopped sensing anything. But you can make a difference, because everyone makes a difference. But you need to go out there. You need to dare. You need to try, and most important, you need to believe in yourself, because I'm sure you can do it. If you couldn't, I wouldn't be compelling you to try it, would I? No, we are improvement. We are genetic consequence of the best who managed to survive one way or another. And you are the best. I know school brings you down. It's their job to put you down. But now school is over to many people. You all are the best a society can bring to this world. You are the best that our genetics could produce. Kick out nihilism, the excessive materialism. There's more to it. You just need to try. I know you suffered trauma probably because of the educational system that we have, again, bureaucracy against technological development. It might have been necessary to educate people to be clogs in a machine during the age of industrialization. Now we have so much time that we could do things freely. And I know it's hard for the powerful to change because they fear they might lose power. However, what they're not realizing is that if they do not allow, not change, it's not even change, betterment for society, they will go down. There's no way around it, because technology won't stop, and they won't stop technology because they believe that gives them more control. They believe that it gives them more power, more money, more everything. They don't realize one of the things that Eric Blair, or as people usually know him by, George Orwell, something that people always miss or seem to miss. Maybe you have noticed, but most people haven't. Is that the guy who is torturing the poor Eric Blair, who believed that he was free in such a society, was smarter than them. One thing that Eric Blair very intelligently brings to that book, 1984, is that that man who is torturing Eric Blair, he is not the system. As he said, and he gives a hint several times over, he is a group within the system. He controls others without them realizing they're being controlled at the top level. Yet, he's not one of the top, but he is at the top. The guy who tortures Eric Blair. He's one of a small group of people who control other people amongst his own peers, like at the top. And they do not seem to realize that they are being controlled, or maybe they are hopeless to do anything about it. So those powerful people, they should be more concerned about the people around them than the average folk. Another hint that Eric Blair also gives, like when he points out several times also throughout the book, that the proletariat will have much more freedom, and it's kind of given to them because they don't really care. They do what they're told, and that's all that the system wants from them. So in the long run, they let them have way more free range or leverage than people in the position of Eric Blair. And actually, one thing that the book points out is that the higher you go, the pressure rises exponentially. And it's very interesting to notice. But people usually take that book as, oh, the people at the bottom, they're the ones suffering most. No, the people at the bottom, they are carefree in many ways. Also because they don't care about who is in charge. So it doesn't really matter for them. So they don't need to be under constant scrutiny. And if they try to mess up, their mess is microscopic in comparison to someone in the position of the Winston in the book. And imagine a man in the position of the torturer of Winston. As he infers, that man, that cruel, horrible man, that hypocritical being, infer several times over. You know, he's a small group within the top group who is doing exactly what he wants to do. So take that in consideration. Or powerful people. You should be more careful with those around you than those at the bottom. I have noticed. For instance, I've noticed the fear of the very powerful. Their fear is way bigger than the fear of a simple person. I have seen it. I couldn't believe it. No. I have met two of the, as far as I was told, I was a kid. I was around my 10 years of age. Two heirs to the Coca-Cola empire. And they were at our tennis club. At the tennis club I used to play with the kids. And we decided, they were kids, so we decided to go and play with them. And their horror, they were surrounded by bodyguards. And their horror, absolute panic when we approached them to play. They started screaming, and look, they are not evil people. They are definitely scared people. And this is what I saw. They were scared. They were scared to death. Maybe because their parents put the fear of, don't talk to strangers, they can kidnap you, it's all a ruse. People in their position should be really worried. You know, they have reasons, good reasons to be concerned. Because yes, there will be bad people who will try to kidnap them. However, the bodyguards, when the children were screaming, they are talking to us in absolute horror. And the bodyguards just said, yeah, they are children, they just want to play with you. There's nothing wrong. And those two kids were so confused. So confused. They never heard such a sentence before. For me, it was very interesting. Again, I was around my 10, 11, but it was a whole new experience. And then I understood something when I was even younger that I heard. I'm not sure if I heard that from the Count of Paris then. I know, sounds weird, huh? Yeah, I know. Or if it was the Polish prince that had a house in the island where I spent my youth. He was he was friend of my parents. My parents were artists, are artists. So they used to buy paintings from them. And because he liked playing chess and Dane, is that the name? Checkers with me. Like, while my parents were doing business and having dinner and all those fine things. He approached me one day and, you know, kneeling, he said to me, it is not like, the problem is, Jan, that it is not the fleas, because I believe I inquired, but how can it be that you lost, that there is no monarchy more in Poland or France? Then he kneeled to me and he said, the problem, Jan, is not that, it is not the dog that has the fleas, it's the fleas who have the dogs. So I didn't understand it, of course. I was too young. That age that that person told me that, I was around 7. I didn't understand it, but I remember the sentence. And as I grew up, I started understanding it better. So today I understand. I believe I understand. I never really cared about having power. Which brings me to another topic that I want to discuss. Because I thought it was a good friend of mine, has criticized my way of living. Because I'm a free thinker, I believe people should pay more taxes because we are being exploited, because there is no need for all those taxes. There is no need. And because I dare say that in my personal page, that person criticized me for accepting things as so, because in the conversations we had, I said how I support social welfare. I think it's so important for our current civilization. But apparently this person, this misguided soul that lost so much, she lost so much. She literally lost continuation. Such a wonderful woman, an excellent, exquisite, unique intellect, let herself get ruined by those, I can say, ill-intended people who, in order to take advantage of her family's position and of her money, raped her mind systematically, taking her away of anything that could benefit her personally, in a sense of spiritual, true spiritual enlightenment and life experiences. She will, and that breaks my heart, she will not ever, and she wanted, so this is why I can tell she might be missing something. And it's so horrifying. It's horrifying to me, especially because I had children and I know the blessing it is, the good moments, the pure, unconditional affection, and the fun, the innocent fun of discovering the world. You can literally at some point see the small brains working like little machines, trying to figure out situations that for them is absolutely unheard of, unseen. And it's fascinating to relearn the new again, because before I had children, I thought I have seen everything. I all the things I wanted to do in my life, I did. I literally did. Because I was not ambitious, and I'm still not ambitious. But now I need to do things for their sake, so they can have a starting point in this society. I don't really want to do it for myself. I really don't. I'm doing it for them. Whatever comes after this video, good things, don't worry. Constructive things, positive things. Actually, the powerful should be happy, because I will be more, what's the word for that? Consistent with the current society in many ways, for the sake of my children. And not because I fear anything, but because the children, solely, because the children cannot comprehend yet why they can't have certain things, why they would be treated in certain places in certain ways. And it's not their fault. That is the sole responsibility of the parents. So that's a good thing, because it's a new form of challenge to me. A positive, it's not even a challenge. Is it a challenge when the entire society tries to move you in a certain direction? It's not, is it? A challenge is when is how I lived my life until now. I played in God mode. And it was awesome. I lived so far, and I still do, because this is a choice I'm doing out of my own volition, for the sake of my children, not of society or anybody else. And I think nobody can say I'm wrong when I say I never cared about money. I never did. Maybe a problem, I don't know. I lived a good life because I did not have much money, because I was not really interested, but the fact that I was what can be considered by some as handsome really opened some doors, and also well learned. I like to read and am well spoken, so that definitely opened some doors. But I feel for her so bad because of her bad company, which I'm sure she thought that she was being whatever is it that she would like to be by holding company to that kind of people. I didn't live her life, nor would I ever have the intention of doing so, because everybody, as Christians like to say, everybody has a cross to carry, so I can barely carry my own. And man, choices, people, choices. Be careful with the choices you make. Be careful with the people you surround yourself with. Beware of the choices you make. They can kill you or your continuation, your future self. When you realize, as I'm starting to realize, as my body slowly weakens, as my gray hair that turns white, as I can sense, like those are signs. If you really think about it, our society don't like to talk about those things too much, you know, but neither am I talking too much about it. Will be some minutes in around an hour conversation. Truth is, my body is dying. It's giving the hints. The white hair that is showing up in most unexpected places. The wrinkles that I never had before. The bad physical condition. The fact that when I return to bodybuilding to try what I used to try, pull up extra weight in the right way, of course, one of my arms distended, and the doctors calmly explained to me that that's how it's going to be from now on. So it's pretty obvious that my body's failing. My body's failing. At my age, your body will fail too. It's inevitable. And then I started realizing that there are people that are losing their minds. Like, I'm far from that. At least 25 years old, hopefully, away from that. And there are ways, like my grandmother, she died. She passed away sharp as a razor blade. She used to do Sudokus. Before that, she used to do crosswords, but then she started doing Sudoku. She bought books after books, and when we asked her, why do you do so much? And she just smiled and said, oh, keeps me sharp, keeps my wits sharp. She was a fantastic lady, intellectual. She was an intellectual. She went as far as to meet Sartre and his wife. Forgot her name. Actually, she was more interested in his wife because, you know, my grandmother was one of the first women to work in the country where she came from, like as a office work. So before she met my grandfather. So she was very sharp. She was very intelligent. And other people in my family as well. So I know that maybe my memory, my mind won't fail me until the end. So based on all the members of my family. That's not a current problem in my family, but one never knows. But what is currently ongoing, that I'm starting to realize, is that the small signs of death. So my body's dying, and it's a very interesting thing because you don't realize it, and it's only certain small things. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, you have some interesting realizations. It's really like looking at a stranger. It's like looking at an absolute stranger sometimes. In my case, a very stern looking, angry looking man. Although I'm not. I'm really not as a person, you know. But I guess I always had that scary look. Remember girlfriends that said, "Oh, I was so scared of you," and I thought, why? What? Why? Because I was always playful, but I guess because I'm big and, you know, I am kind of imposing, and the way that I dressed, or I used to dress, might also be an indication. But me, myself, you know, I don't wish bad to anybody. It's not, being scary is really not my play in life, or what I intend in any possible way. I think it will start to rain.